本期主讲人来自营销部的丹尼尔，他围绕营销部的职责介绍了原料采购、产品销售等工作流程，并回答了硫酸市场价格、硫酸运输安全、事故处理等问题。
晚上好。Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Ndlovu. I'm an assistant manager in marketing department. My boss is here, Mr. Raymond. Today I will be presenting on marketing department. Okay, so we go to the introduction. So this presentation covers the following. We are going to look at the structure of marketing department and the sections, and also the functions of the department. That covers the overall functions and also the section functions. We are also going to look at the workflow, and then we are going to conclude. Okay, so about marketing department. Of course, CCS has got many departments, but marketing department is one very important marketing in that it's integral to the functioning, the overall functioning of the company. It's critical in generating a company revenue through sales. I'm going to explain the keywords that I've prepared for you this evening. There are 20 words in total. So the first word is marketing. The basic explanation I can give is the advertising, selling, and delivering of products to the customers. The next word is seller. In every business, there is a seller and a buyer. A seller is the party that transfers a product to another party. The next word is buyer. So CCS sells to the buyer. CCS is a seller. So the buyer is the party that purchases the product. So the next word is the agent. So in the process of selling and buying, there are what we call agents between the seller and the buyer. So agents are basically in charge of facilitating, for example, clearing of cargo and also transporting of cargo, tracking of cargo, and ensuring of safety of cargo on the way. The next word is export. Export basically means to transfer product from a country of manufacturing to another country outside. And then import is when cargo is coming from another country into Zambia. For example, copper concentrate. If we are buying from Congo, that's import. So the next word is contract. Contract basically means an agreement between two parties, maybe the buyer and the seller. A contract specifies responsibilities. For example, who is responsible for transportation of cargo, who is responsible for insurance of cargo, who is responsible for clearance and all that. So the next word we are going to look at is raw materials. Raw materials basically means inputs of production. For example, at CCS, we have copper concentrate. Those are raw materials. Copper concentrate is smelted into copper anode. And then the next word is product. So once raw materials are fed in the plant, what comes out is what we call a product. The next word is loading order. Before trucks get loaded, we need to have a loading order from the agents. This is a document that instructs us to load the trucks. And then the next word is invoice. Basically, the invoice will have the products and the value. The next word is packing list. A packing list is a document that basically lists the products that are being, for example, sold. Details for those bundles on one document, describing what products, how much tonnage is going to be loaded on that particular truck. So the next word we are going to look at is a bill of lading. Bill of lading is a document that is produced by the carrier. In case of copper, when copper gets to the port, the shipping company will produce a document called a bill of lading. A bill of lading is that document that is produced by the shipping company to the shipper. The shipper is the party that is shipping the cargo. And then the next word we are going to look at is the assay report. Assay report is basically a document that specifies the mineral composition. It lists the contents of the material or the sample that is being analyzed. So the next word we are going to look at is payment requisition. Payment requisition is basically a document that is raised when we want to pay a supplier. The next word is export permit. Export permit is a government document that specifies what products a company wants to, for example, export. So the next word we are going to look at is a certificate of origin. Certificate of origin is basically a document that describes which country, for example, products were made from. The next word is net weight. Net weight means the actual tonnage of the product. The gross weight, which is weight of the cargo plus the truck, you remove the weight for the truck alone. So the difference is net weight. Then the next word we are going to look at is cast number. This is a special number. If you look at this number, it comprises of the year, then the converter, and then the cycle number. And then the next word is dispatch. Dispatch is basically sending off the trucks. After loading has been done and completed, all the documents have been prepared. So we go to the structure of marketing department. Marketing department has got 4 sections. So the first section is a raw material section. Next section is a copper section. We also have acid section and the main office, which is the general office where the manager is found for us to achieve the objectives of the department. These sections work hand in hand. You have raw material section that is responsible for receiving the raw materials. And then you have copper section that is in charge of loading and dispatch of copper. Acid section that is in charge of dispatch of acid. The information from all these sections goes to the office section to prepare further documents that are made into different forms, reports, sales records and statistics, which are presented to the supervisor. So I'm going to briefly talk about the functions of marketing department. The overall function of marketing department is to facilitate raw materials purchase and product sales. Raw materials are sourced from the market, and then according to the production plan, we have copper concentrate, we have core, we have silica sand, and then there's silica stone, and then limestone, there's pyrite, there's also master alloy, and also sulfur. When you look at the sales part, you have main products, that is copper blister and anode, and also sulfuric acid. For marketing department, it's not just about raw materials and product sales. It's also about market research, communication, and also relationship management. And then on marketing research, marketing department tries to be updated with what is happening in the market. We communicate with suppliers, clients, agents, the government, and other stakeholders. So other additional responsibilities for marketing department are here, which I've mentioned already some of them, like contract negotiation. We source for raw materials. We are responsible for product sales. And then marketing is also responsible for communication, like I mentioned here, with different agents and transporters, and also to maintain sound relationships, just like I mentioned here. And then there's also internal communication within CCS. This slide is about the functions of the sections. So we have a raw materials section. So raw materials section is in charge for facilitating raw materials receipt. Then we have copper section. Copper sections facilitates for copper sales. So the next section is acid section. So acid section is responsible for facilitating acid sales. And then the general office, so the general office receives reports from these sections, and also it gives instructions to these sections outside. So the workflow, so this is basically the procedure for receiving the raw materials. So this slide shows the trucks. So these trucks are carrying copper concentrate. Those are bags. And then you have these various raw materials that we buy. This is silica stone, and then silica sand. Then we have core and limestone. So this shows the workflow under copper section. Although I explained, it covers receiving of copper, and then there's also preparation of copper. So there's also loading of copper. That is point 3. Copper gets loaded on the trucks. Okay, from there documents are going to be prepared, and then dispatch. This basically shows the copper that has been received, and then this slide shows what we call bundling, or you can call it strapping. So once the weighing has been done, copper is labeled. So you have this is blister. This is how blister is labeled. So this is a cast number. This is copper anode. So this sticker comes from the weighing scale. Once the weighing has been done, they put the scale. These are copper bundles, copper anode bundles that are stacked, ready for loading on the tracks. Basically, it just shows that this is now ready. So from here, the guys will just lift using the forklift machines and put on the tracks. That is a loading part. So this slide shows the bundles being loaded on the tracks. And then for acid section, this is basically the workflow of the section. So the first step is preparation of loading orders. Then from there, tracks go to enter. The entry procedure is supposed to be followed. The next step is weighing. The tracks will go on the weigh bridge. They are going to be weighed to check the empty weight. Then from there, the tracks are going to load and then come back on the weigh bridge to weigh the gross weight now. Then the system is going to calculate the net weight, from which now the documents are going to be made. Okay, we are going to prepare the invoices, the delivery notes, and the delivery order. Once all the documents are prepared, tracks are dispatched. So this is the loading point where acid tracks are loaded from. And then these are loaded tracks that are waiting to be dispatched. So under office section, you have these three sections. There is raw materials also, there is copper, and then there is acid section as well. We have workflow in the sections now. In the office section, so there is contract negotiation. The section is also in charge of management of delivery plans. The section is also in charge for documentation. We communicate with suppliers, the agents, and also the quality agents. And then the section is also in charge of monitoring and management of purchase procedures. So the section is also in charge of monitoring the concentrate market. So this section is in charge of ensuring that all procedures are followed in the sales process. And also the section is in charge of monitoring the copper market. And then we have a collection of documents from agents and record keeping. So we have a storage room where all the documents are kept. So in case the auditors come, they come to finance, maybe finance will request for documents from marketing, then we go to that room to get them and provide to finance department. Then we have the last section, that is acid. So it's the same also. So there is also contract negotiation. There is also management of loading and delivery plans like in other sections. There is also documentation, there is communication as well, monitoring and management of sales procedures. We need to ensure that all the procedures are properly followed, and also monitoring of cargo on the way. And then in conclusion, marketing department plays a very significant role in overall functioning of the company. Our marketing department is responsible for sales in order for CCS to have revenue. And then under purchases of raw materials and sales of products falls the sections that help achieve the department work procedures and overall objectives. And ultimately, the department works to achieve the overall objectives of the company. At this point, we've come to an end. I'll invite questions. If you have questions, you can ask me. I'll answer. The transporters that are responsible for providing the tracks. So firstly, we don't engage transporters that don't have a permit from ZEMA. Yes, so ZEMA will provide a certificate for transporters that are qualified, and they inspect the tracks. From that point, when transporters bring the tracks at CCS, the safety department has got what we call a checklist. They will inspect the track to physically see, is the track okay? If we discover it, we inform safety. Then safety is going to, for example, if the leakage is small, maybe they will just put lime on the area that is affected, okay, and send back the track to go and offload. Once the track starts leaking, the transporter is supposed to replace, send another track. So safety is responsible for ensuring that the tracks are inspected and also to manage the situation in case there is a leakage. Yes, so our department just informs safety to say maybe there's a track that is leaking, then safety takes up that responsibility. Yeah.
Well, other companies rapid expansion, expansion.
Yes.
this situation is pose a challenge to marketing or even the CCS. Yeah. The second question is that how to explore the new client.
The other smelter, for example, Kansanshi, it's bigger than a CCS. Okay, so it's producing more copper, it's producing more acid compared to CCS. There will be competition, for example, on the clients, maybe for acid, because that is a threat. When there is more acid on the market, prices maybe can come down, okay? Because when the demand is low and then the supply is high, prices mostly will come down, which is maybe not good for CCS. We need to look at ways in which we can attract maybe new customers, or we can keep the existing customers. You mean if assay report is different from analysis report? An assay report is basically, in simple terms, you can call it an analysis report. It's the same document. There's no difference. Analysis report, assay report is the same. Yes, Kalumbila has challenges in their production. Once they resume, we'll bring in more concentrate. Within CCS or outside?
Outside.
Okay. For example, acid? Yeah. Okay, so when there's an accident for a truck, mostly the transporters that are contracted by the clients to transport the acid are responsible for management of that situation. They report to ZEMA and also manage the flow of the acid so that it doesn't pollute the environment. Yes, so as marketing department, we don't do it ourselves because there are agents and transporters that are responsible for that. Okay, so we've come to the end. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I know you've learned a lot. I wish there could be another opportunity for me to learn Chinese. So thank you very much for your participation. Thanks.